And joining us now is Ben Crump, the attorney representing Breonna Taylor's family. Good morning, Mr. Crump. You said a week ago that at a minimum, the three officers should be charged with second-degree manslaughter. What do you make of the Kentucky Attorney General's explanation as to why none of them were charged with Breonna Taylor's death?
Breonna Taylor's family, as do me and my co-counsels, Lanita Baker and Sam Aguiar, we think it's just outrageous. It's offensive. We're still trying to figure out what evidence did Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron present to that grand jury. Did he present any evidence on behalf of Breonna Taylor? Because if he didn't, he unilaterally decided that he was going to exonerate these police officers and that Breonna would never get due process, that she would never get justice. And so we are demanding that he release that transcript so we can see if there was any evidence. Did Breonna have any voice in that grand jury proceeding?
The Attorney General spoke to Breonna Taylor's family yesterday, did he not? What did he say?
He spoke to them about 10 minutes before everything was released to the public, and he did not go into the nuance. They were not told that the wanton endangerment charges were for the white neighbor's apartment and not for Breonna's apartment. Did not tell them that there were no charges for the bullets going into Breonna's body. Did not tell them that the black neighbors that had bullet go into their apartment did not have any wanton endangerment charges. So it really underscores the fact that there just seems to be two justice systems in America, one for white America and one for black America. And this was shown yet again in this grave miscarriage of justice, just grave miscarriage of injustice.
You know, Ben, we talked to Kenneth Walker's attorney in the last hour, and he told us that he feels it's a cover-up. Would you use that phrase too?
Well, I think it was a sham proceeding, and that's why we're demanding, Gail, that this grand jury transcript is released so people can see if anybody spoke for Breonna in that grand jury proceeding, because black women lives matter and Breonna Taylor life matters. The fact that not just black people, but if you are a parent of a daughter, a parent of a child, you should be troubled by this, because Tamika Palmer's daughter, Breonna Taylor, was killed in the sanctity of her own home, and our legal system, our criminal justice system, is trying to say it's justified, it's okay. And you know, just because they say it's legal, Gail, that don't make it right. We know throughout history they have said things are legal, but that don't make it right.
Yeah, and that's what I keep thinking. I keep thinking about the family today, Ben, and how they're processing their grief while they are still calling for peace. It's not okay that 2 Louisville police officers were shot in the streets. Luckily, they're going to be okay. But how is the family processing their grief? They're awarded $12 million, so on some level, somebody thought that they had been wronged in this particular case. To have no charges, nobody held accountable for the death of their daughter.
You know, Gail King, that is the hard thing. The civil settlement was very significant on many fronts. It set a precedence for systematic reform and speaking to the value of black women's lives in society. However, as Tamika Palmer says, she wanted accountability, these officers to be held accountable, so it will serve as a deterrent so we can prevent future Breonna Taylors. She is trying to define the legacy of her daughter in the chaos of all of this, and she really wants that legacy to be to prevent these unjustifiable killings of people of color with nobody being held accountable.
Ben, yesterday the Attorney General for the first time said that they had a witness who claimed that the police announced themselves before they went in. We had not heard that before. Had you heard that before?
We had heard that before, but I want to put this in proper perspective. our legal team have 12 witnesses, 12 neighbors that say they did not hear the police knock and announce. And this alleged witness that they keep presenting, he apparently gave 2 previous interviews where he said he didn't hear the police knock and announce.
Exactly.
So if Daniel Cameron only presented his perspective and didn't present the other 12 neighbors, then he has unilaterally made a decision on whether or not Breonna would ever get due process, whether she would ever get justice, and that is not right.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker's attorney made that same point, that this witness has apparently changed her story, and it's called a no-knock warrant for a reason, because the reasoning is that you don't announce yourself. And all the several witnesses who were there that night, including Kenneth Walker, when you hear him on that 911 tape after it happened, he said he had no idea who these people were who came into his apartment. He thought he was acting in self-defense to save himself and Breonna Taylor. There are still many, many questions on this case, and I know that you are still working very hard. Thank you, Ben Crump, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your time.